All right, okay, Cheryl, we are live.
Hello and good morning, everyone. We are ready to begin with our Flex Day PD sessions. Just a little bit of housekeeping before we begin. So that you know, you have to attend all three live this morning. They will go back to back. So you just stay seated and we'll get through it together. Each session has an attendance form. So you will complete the attendance form for each session this morning. I also need you to know that we may record if we can figure that out. We might record. So if you're saying things in the chat, make sure it's all about the work. And uh, Joel Cotty is our first presenter. We'll have Roger Cleveland after him, and then Colleen Mizuki following Roger Cleveland. And just, stay with us. We're excited, and we are ready to go. Also, so you know, there is a reflection form that you will need to complete at the end of the entire day. So after you've viewed your recordings, after you've had the 3 live sessions, you will complete a Google form. It is attached to the slide deck, the Flex Day slide deck, and I will put that in the chat as well. The recorded sessions will not start until 11:30. They will not be linked to the slide deck until 11:30 after the morning sessions are completed. If you have any questions, you can email cheryl.bibby and we will, I'll help you out. Ready to go, Joel?
All right. Thank you, Cheryl. Hello, everybody. It's Monday morning and it is raining and we are virtual. So I'm trying to differentiate and I'm curious. I've been so grateful that Jefferson County Public Schools has been hiring me to help with their professional development since 2016. So I'd love to see in the chat how many of you have seen me before, and just put a number. Like if this is your second time, write 2. If this is your fourth time, write 4. I just want to gauge who has seen me and who hasn't. And even if you've seen me 4 times, don't worry. No keynote, no staff training is ever the same. And this one, I promise you, will be different and you'll get new things. So if you don't mind doing that, that will help. I hope to interact like this and kind of read your eyes and body language and chat and adjust accordingly. And I do have a PowerPoint, so we'll go back and forth with that. But I'm also thinking we need some old school kind of show and tell. Teachers and students love show and tell. It doesn't matter how old they are. So I might be grabbing a book or a prop and kind of holding it. So I hope you're up for this kind of new and creative interactive keynote. So thank you. Now, typically every morning in every class period, I check in with my students. So little background, I started as a high school language arts teacher. Then I became an elementary school principal for 9 years. Then I was a district leader in Lexington, Kentucky, over Fayette County Public Schools special programs, alternative programs. And then I became a teacher again because I've been speaking more, and I'm teaching at the Success Academy. And it's a dropout re-engagement center, and we're just trying to do any and everything to re-engage our kids and get them coming to school, get them healthier, building relationships, and just getting them feeling better about school and getting them on a personalized pathway to success. So one of the things I do with my students is I check in with them daily and just say, on a scale from 1 to 10, how are you doing? And then I ask them to just name it. And you put a word to it. Say I'm tired. Say I'm hopeful. Say I'm energetic. Say I'm, sad. So I'm going to ask you all to do the same thing, because sometimes, we're kind of stuffing our feelings. We're not really coming to terms with them. But once you name it, it's kind of like, okay, I can tackle that. And you don't have to put this in the chat, but before you leave this session and go to the next session, I want you to commit to one thing that you can name to make it better. Like, it can be a simple thing. So you're going to rate it, and then you're going to name it, and then you're going to just commit to one thing for you to make it better. So I'm going to give you some time to do that. And as you do, you're going to see, again, one of the foundational pieces of Ignite #Love in Schools is relationships. And not just saying it and hope it happens, but really committing to it and saying, no, relationships are urgent and important. We just don't know how much time we have on this planet. And I just can't keep putting it off. So I'm going to make relationships a priority. But if you've seen me speak before, you probably heard me say the most important relationship is the one you have with yourself. Before you can fully love and lead others, you must be fully leading and loving yourself. And we are tough on ourselves. Educators are some of the worst. We're taking care of our students, our colleagues, our families at home, and just giving ourselves scraps. And then we're tough on ourselves. The voice in our head is saying, you should do this, you need to do this, and look at my to-do list. It's growing like credit card debt. And if you're one of those teachers and you're just feeling the weight of your to-do list, which really does grow every day, you can knock off some things, but your to-do list is going to grow like credit card debt. I want you to stop and say, that's okay. The harder you work as educators, the behinder you get. That's not a bad thing. Be passionate, be hardworking anyway, and get rid of some of that guilt. So by stopping here and saying, all right, I'm a 4 today. I'm exhausted. My weekend did not go as planned. So you know what? I'm going to take a 5-minute power nap during my lunch. Close my eyes. I may not fall asleep, but I'm just going to chill. Colleen is going to bless you with so many tools and strategies, and you're going to pull something from that and give yourself that. So that's the strategy. Rate it, name it, make it better. Now that comes from my book, Finding You at the Zoo. And I want to talk a little bit about this book because at the end of today's session, I'm going to share a QR code that gives you a free ebook. And it gives you access to an audio and an interactive me reading it with the illustrations. So a little story about this book. It was inspired at the Louisville Zoo from my granddaughter, Lucy, who at the time was 3, just having this moment, interacting with a gorilla and just watching it spread from there. But at the end of this session, the QR code will take you to a video from what I've created called the Be More You experience. It is videos, and I'm trying to make them appropriate for all ages. Frankfurt Independent Schools is doing this work K through 12, and it takes a little bit of teacher guidance, and we've provided teacher guides, but it's going to help you with classroom community building. It'll spill into your school culture. It'll take things home and bring things back from home. But I want you to have a sample of the Be More You experience. So the other thing that inspired this book, besides Lucy's interaction with the gorilla, was my father-in-law. And my father-in-law, one day he said to me, Joel, he said, Joel, just keep being Joel. In fact, be more Joel. And I thought, oh my, are you sure? I know, sometimes that can be too much. My students are always telling me, Mr. Cotty, you are too much, you are too much. But to have my father-in-law say, you know what, just keep being you. In fact, be more you. What a blessing and a gift that was. And I thought, you know what, everybody needs that message. Because we're often told what we're not and what we have to become and what, we focus on the negative. And you know what? I wanted everybody to receive that message and say, wherever you are, you're okay. That acceptance of who you are, it is okay. And so that is what inspired the Be More You experience through this book. Now, the other thing I want to say, which also has some local ties, the illustrator in this book is an artist from Lexington, Kentucky. His name is Tuska. And he passed away in 1998. And he drew these sketches while visiting the National Zoo in Washington, D.C. Now, his son gave me access to the illustrations, and I wrote the book backward from the illustrations. But he also gave me access to some more illustrations. They're horse illustrations. So my second book that I'm working on now is called Satch's Destiny. And it's about horses on the horse farm called Old Friends Farm. Near Lexington. It's the first horse farm for retired race horses, and it's set on there. And so I'm working on this book, and I'm really proud. One of the themes, one of the messages is your best and most important work is always ahead of you. Like, I'm really proud of that. Like, it really helps generate something wonderful and powerful in me. And I often think of my dad, and here's some show and tell. My dad was a welder, and he passed away in 2008. He actually completed suicide, which is one of the reasons why I say relationships are urgent. We just don't know what's going through people's heads, hearts, and spirits. And we just have to always be aware that there might be a connection, a moment, an affirmation that saves somebody. And so these boots remind me about my dad and the hard work that he had. And he struggled. He retired as a welder, and they kind of pushed him into retirement. And I think his sense of purpose, his sense of pride, it added to him sinking into a really, really deep depression. So that mantra that my best and most important work is always ahead of me is really important. And I'm a 21-year educator, and you can't help but get hurt and jolted and jaded and have some really tough stuff land on you in this profession. The secondary trauma that we experience and probably don't even name or recognize or do anything about, it adds up and it builds up and it impacts our mental health and our physical health. And it's very, very real. So I'm really proud of this message that's coming out of this work with this book, Satch's Destiny. So I was in Louisville almost exactly a year ago because it was the Bluegrass Volleyball Tournament, which was last weekend in Louisville. And there was a young man, and he was selling pretzels and popcorn, and he had one of these bracelets on. And anytime I see somebody with a bracelet, I ask about it because it's obviously important enough for them to be wearing it. And oftentimes it creates a connection in a moment. And so I said, hey, tell me about your bracelet. And this young man, about 19, 20, 21, he said, well, I'm a recovering heroin addict. I'm in my second year of being clean. And, you know, he just had this light and excitement. He was working so hard, and he was connecting with everybody in line. And so here I am, Mr. Motivational Speaker man and 21-year educator, feeling really good. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to affirm him and pour into him. And I said, you know what? I see this in you, and I am so impressed. And, you know, the best and most important work is still ahead of you. He didn't miss a beat. He shot right back. He said, nope, sorry, sir, that is incorrect. I'm like, wait, people are paying me good money to speak this, share this, and, you know, he said, my best and most important work is right here, right now, with you. And I got goosebumps then. I got goosebumps saying it now because if you've seen me speak, I talk about a continuum. And it's following these three things over and over again. And one of them is to be present as much as you can. And I know it's hard because we've got tough stuff in our past. We are anxious about the future. And we have that to-do list pouring down us. But the more that you can be present, you get to connect with people and possibly save people. So part of today's message is equipping you with tools and reflections so that you do whatever you can do to get stuck in people's heads, hearts, and spirits. Where are my Seinfeld people? Who remembers that episode with George Costanza? He was leaving things behind for a hopeful girlfriend. He said, I want to get stuck in her head, like by Menon Costanza. That's our job as educators. That's our job while we're on this planet. We're doing the best to bring the best of us, the essence of us, the real raw core. You see, love is limitless. We determine just how much love we let out, and we determine just how much love we let in and soak in. And so often we block love. Teachers are the worst. They say, oh, what a great lesson, or I'm so impressed by you. And they're like, oh, thanks. They kind of block it. Don't do that. Soak it up. Feel it. Store it. Put it somewhere like on a Google, like a Google Drive, the cloud. You can go back to it and say, oh my goodness. Remember when that parent said, you change my child's life. Feel that. You need to access that to focus and fuel you during the tough times. Don't just block it and get onto your to-do list. So here he was teaching me what I'm trying to teach. So the theme of Satch's Destiny, there's going to be two of them. It's going to be this, your best and most important work is ahead of you, but your most important, best and work is right here with you. It's going to be like a dead heat. So if you know horse racing, once in a while, two horses come nose to nose and they cross that finish line. And I believe if you stay on those two tracks, amazing things are going to happen for you. And I know it's difficult, but those two tracks, stay on that. Your best and most important work is still ahead of you, but look where you are, look who you're with, look at the needs. The best and most important work is right there with you. Now, before I tell you the title of this keynote, and I'm nervous, the good news is I'm not anywhere where you can throw something at me and have it hit me. So you're my test pilot on this title. But before we do it, I want to get you in a good place. So if you've seen me speak before, I womp you. And sometimes it evolves into even other things. But this is research-based to wake you up. I know it's early, I know it's Monday, and I know you thought you had extra time and you didn't have to get dressed and you didn't have to battle the commute, but Monday mornings are rough. So here we go. I would like you to trust me and stand up. Go ahead, come on, stand up. Stand up. So womping is water, and we do not drink enough water all day long. But I want to challenge you to drink a lot of water. I want to challenge you to drink water at school with your students. And I know, when I went from being a 12-year administrator back to a teacher, the hardest, still to this day, the hardest adjustment is, I don't know when to go to the bathroom. I don't know how to do this. And let alone kids going to the bathroom. And then with COVID, and then the TikTok challenges, it's a nightmare. Get hydrated anyway. Hydrate your kids anyway. They're so important that their brains stay hydrated. So water. The O in WOMP is oxygen. Take some deep breaths. Here we go. Really deep belly breaths. Here we go. Make sure you exhale. A lot of times we don't let it all out. So think of the movie Green Mile. Remember all that black junk that came pouring out of there? That stuff's in you, especially with the mask. We've been inhaling all that carbon dioxide, but we really have to work on exhaling that tough stuff. So here we go. Another really deep breath. Here we go. All right, exaggerated that a little bit for effect, but not really. Now, some of you are lightheaded. You're like, oh my gosh, what is he doing to me? It's okay. This is what your brain needs. We're going to do one more big one. But we're going to do two things. You're going to imagine you're blowing out 85 birthday candles. Someday you're going to get there. All right? And you're going to hit them all. And it might be the trick candle. So you got to just keep exhaling, keep pouring it out there. But also, maybe this is a good introduction to Colleen. I wish I could be in her presentation and watch her do her magic today. But I want you to hang on, once you inhale, hang on that moment. Even if you've never practiced mindfulness, hang on that moment before you exhale. All right, here we go. Big deep breath. Hang and exhale birthday candles. All right. The M is for marching. So march in place. I know your poor dog, your cat, your kids, your husband, they're worried about you, and that's okay. You can teach them this later. I've done this with students, with staffs. Everybody learns to feel and benefit from it, so just keep trusting me. All right, so you're marching in a way that you can do Heisman, you can do whatever way feels comfortable. You can start dancing if some of you are like me, you do have a lot of energy in the morning. But be moving so you get blood pumping through your body, but most importantly to your brain. Now, the second M is midline marching. There you are, my occupational therapist, physical therapist. A lot of my special needs paras and teachers know The importance of midline marching, which is where you touch something on the other side of your body so that both sides of your brain work together. Right now, they're like, hey, buddy, where were you? Like, we should get together more often. Like, let's work together. So pull both sides of your brain together and let them synergize. You're probably feeling some warm, fuzzy tinglies in your brain that you haven't felt in a while. Now, the P is pretzel. Pretzel. So you cross your legs like this. There, you can see I look like Jerry Seinfeld today. We'll talk about my K-Swiss later. But then you come underneath like this. So you make like a pretzel. But you also massage the roof of your mouth with your tongue. Go ahead, trust me. Massage the roof of your mouth with your tongue. You should feel some more tinglies in the back part of your brain lighting up. There, you've now woken up every part of your brain. Now, I also want you to yell, onomatopoeia, onomatopoeia. I know, you're too much. Your family's like, oh my God, I didn't yell, I know. Trust me, yelling something new and different with your kids, it creates novelty. You crave novelty, but your kids now more than ever crave novelty. They're watching YouTube, people opening eggs and say, oh, wow, did you look what's inside? TikTok's flying through, and they're like, anything new and different and satisfying. So you, too, have to bring novelty to the classroom. Anything new and different. And it's also good for brain health. Now, so I've added this. We're not going to do it all, but wampish. So we got W-O-M-M-P. Y is yell, something kind of crazy and fun. The S is shaking. I know, some of you have had me before. You didn't think I would leave you without shaking. So stay standing, stay standing. This is probably the best tip I can give you today. If you do 60 seconds of shaking, it's like 60 minutes of a massage. And you don't have to pay for it. You don't have to tip on it. You don't have to get naked for it. 60 seconds of shaking, and you're going to feel like $1,000,000. So shaking is the way I just call it traumatic tremoring. See, traumatic tremoring happens naturally. It happens in natures with animals. It happens with kids. It happens with you. If you saw a horrific car accident, you'd probably be like, oh. You would just shake it through and you would recalibrate. If you were forced to eat the nastiest food you could imagine, for me it's clams, it's the texture. Imagine right now the nastiest food you could ever imagine eating, and you have to eat the whole plate so that you and your housemates win $10,000. Imagine you're on a reality TV show. If you really think about eating that, you're going to do this. And that recalibration from your nervous system makes everything better. So we're going to proactively shake, because I imagine the last couple of years in schools have been tough. And if you're like any of the other schools and districts I'm supporting, this year's been the toughest. And we thought it wasn't going to be. So we're going to shake out all that trauma from this year, the last 2 years, or maybe like me, the last 21 years. And so if you email me or text me or direct message me, I'll sing you the perfect songs with the beats per minute to shake. So it goes like this. Ready? Stand up. Relax, relax. Here we go. Just let everything go loose like a noodle to the song. Rock the Casbah, rock the Casbah, shining and lightning. Rock the Casbah. Come on, let it go. Some of you are like this. Rock the Casbah, rock the Casbah. Low rider. Da-na-na-na-na. Let the shoulders go. You're kind of tense in here like this. Come on, let it all go. Rock the Casbah, rock the Casbah, shining and lightning. Rock the Casbah, rock the Casbah. Shake it off. Shake it off. Okay, hands up one last time. Just kind of let it drop. Feel all those good feels. Okay, I'm going to let you sit down. Go ahead and sit down. That was a lot for a Monday morning. Thank you for trusting me. And hopefully you do feel some of the ways that can make you feel better. Now, I've done this with high schoolers, and they request it. In Wisconsin, I'm out of breath. I got to work out. In Wisconsin, they do the ACT test in a big auditorium or a cafeteria from districts all over. One day I was helping to facilitate it, and 3 of my students, among 300, getting ready for the test, they stood up and they whomped themselves before they took the test. Because they knew what it did to their brains and what it did to help them. All right, so are you ready for today's title? It is called, You Are Not Your Instagram Profile Picture. Don't throw anything at me. I'm going to say it again, and you can insert your favorite social media. You are not your Instagram profile picture. And what I mean by that is we're going to have moments in our lives that are great and perfect and wonderful. And there are going to be moments where we're at our best. And sometimes when we're at our best, there's another track running that is awful. The best things could be happening, but some of the worst things could be happening. And so when we look at that picture, or if we have that image of what we were, or what we could be, or what we need to be, we're constantly not where we need to be. And one of the great disservices I think we're doing our students, and maybe even our own kids at home, is not talking to them enough about how tough life is. My students, one of the biggest things they're struggling with is grief. They're grieving parents who have passed away, maybe drugs and alcohol, murder. They're grieving a childhood they never had. Some of my 17-year-olds are sandwich generation kids. You and me may know what that means, like we're taking care of our parents and we're taking care of our own kids. Well, I have 17-year-olds who are taking care of younger siblings, holding their parents together, maybe even holding their grandparents together in the same home. And they come to school angry. And we're telling them not to be angry or to do this or do that. Please try this. Tell them it's okay not to be okay. You are not expected to be a profile picture all the time. Life does not work that way. There's nobody without problems and issues. And even when life is going so good, something can grab you. An illness, an accident. I have a friend who is like me, who's a speaker, a principal, and he had a really tough stroke. He was only in his mid-40s. We have to tell people that this happens. And so part of our challenge is to be real and to be raw and let our kids see that we don't have it perfect. We don't have it figured out. Some of my favorite moments teaching is when I go around in the circle and I say, today, I'm a 3. Right now, I am just really struggling. I haven't been sleeping well, and I haven't been eating well. I'm just not myself these last few days. And my favorite moments are watching my kids, who maybe every other day were giving me a run for my money. But because of my honesty and my vulnerability, that day they rally for me. They look out for me with other students, anything else that they offer to help. They come out of nowhere. They have empathy. And if you have that relationship, they will rally for you. So you are not your Instagram profile picture. Sometimes people say, what's with the hashtag love in schools? In fact, my own daughters say, Dad, hashtags aren't cool anymore. They're just not cool anymore. They're for old people. I said, Holly, I'm 45. Am I old? She's like, yeah, that's kind of old. So let me have my hashtag. But really, the reason I came up with hashtag love in schools is because it instantly pulls us all together. Just like those moments, that love that comes and goes, we instantly can get on that wavelength. So I love how it pulls us together. But I've also been putting out there that you have to be in charge of your own algorithms. Who? Now this is a good question. If you could help me type this in the chat or reflection after, who or what needs to be in your algorithm? And how are you going to put those people in your algorithms? How are you going to put those experiences, those lessons learned in your algorithm? Because right now there's a whole lot of other things just coming in and kind of creating this whirlwind that you're living and determining the priorities for you. But you have to get control of that. And one of the ways you can do that is not be afraid of the pain and the anger and some of these tough stuff. So this is what I tell my kids. Anger is okay. And they look at me, and it's like I gave them a gift. I said, it really is okay to be angry. It just means you're human. You're alive. You're passionate. You have the ability to be angry. It's a good thing. But there's 3 rules to anger. You can't hurt anybody. You can't hurt yourself. And you can't break them. Other than that, you're good. Work it through. Be physical. Breathe it out. Punch it out if you have to. Don't hurt anybody. Don't hurt your hand. But it's okay. Be like a duck. Water off a duck's back, that's a real thing. Ducks, they will face each other and they will fight it out, but there's a physiological release when they get it all out, and then they fly off together. So modeling and teaching our kids, it's okay to be angry versus stuffing it down, or it's okay to grieve and feel the pain versus coping and numbing. Alcohol, drugs, cutting, immersing ourselves in social media. There's so many ways that we avoid the pain. And so one of the next biggest takeaways I hope you take from today is called the pain paradigm. Okay? I'm going to find the pain paradigm right here. I want you to stare at this. The pain paradigm, and maybe you can help me find the slide, is basically just looking at pain and saying, okay, and also looking at it and saying, it's a good thing. Pain is a good thing. It communicates, but it also forces us to get stronger. Where are my coaches or athletes? After a really good practice or a really good workout, you are in pain. You wake up sore. I'm going to brag. About 7 years ago, I was going to tackle P90X. It's a crazy intense workout. So I knew I had to show up in good shape if I was going to make it through the P90X series. That first day, and I showed up in good shape. That first day, after that, there were parts of me that were sore for 2 weeks. But you know what? That meant I was coming back stronger. So if you are looking at pain like there's something wrong with you, and it somehow defines who you are or who you're not, and you're feeling bad about it, I'm challenging you to flip your paradigm and look at it differently and say, okay, this is what's here. It's going to make you stronger. So I love this expression, the stronger the breeze, the stronger the tree. So we stake trees sometimes. We get young trees and we stake them and they grow up straight. What happens in a storm when we take the stake away? Those are the first trees that snap and go down. Yes, they are. We're doing that to ourselves, to our children, to our students. We're trying to protect them from pain. We're trying to help them grow straight, but then life is going to hit them, and they're not strong enough to adapt and be flexible, and they snap and they don't know how to get up. So we're looking at pain differently. And so it can actually strengthen you. There is strength through struggle. You gain strength through struggle. Now, I like these 2 examples. I'm going to talk a little bit about golf and a little bit about surfing. So let me find my Legend of Bagger Vance slide. I don't know if she's toggling through and you can see it. But Legend of Bagger Vance, what a beautiful movie. The theme in that movie is find your one true swing. And I believe we all have our own unique one true swing. Golfers do not have the same swing. Baseball players do not have the same swing. Each of us has our own one true swing. And it's up to us to find it. But golf is a crazy difficult sport. It's crazy difficult. And so those of you who have played it, you know you are butchering it. You are paying $20 a balls going into the woods, going into the water. You know, you are hitting the turf farther than you hit the ball sometimes. But then you hit the one. And you're like, look at that. Look at me. I got this. I'm going to come back. Surfing is kind of the same way. If you've ever gone surfing, you know, it's brutal. You're battling the waves, you're battling the board comes back and hits you in the head, you get kind of thrown into a pier. You might even get pulled down into a riptide. In fact, this is a good metaphor for what we're doing too. If you ever get pulled down into a riptide, and it happened to me once when I was a kid, and I remember this, you have to remember to let go and relax. If you fight it, think you're going to beat this riptide, the forces somehow just hold you and keep you down. If you relax and let go, it sort of spits you away and it spits you back up and out. It's the same thing that we're doing. If we think you can control this and prevent this and battle it and change it and redefine it, you're going to stay down in that mess. So surfing, in all that battle, you're on your surfboard for like 1 or 2 seconds, you're like, yeah. And so those are the life moments too. We are not those profile pictures. We're navigating this tough, awful stuff. But then if you're in the present moment, you can fully feel and experience that flow of that one perfect swing that actually lands on the green. Or when you're up on the surfboard for 2 seconds and you feel like you can live forever. So you've got to hang on to those moments and enjoy the present moments while they're happening. If you've heard me speak before, you've probably heard me talk about the movie Field of Dreams. And the old Burt Lancaster played Moonlight Graham, the old Moonlight Graham. So if you know that movie. And it was his last scene in a feature film. And he said to Kevin Costner's character, he said, you know, we just don't recognize the most significant moments of our lives while they're happening. And as a kid, I watched that movie over and over again, and I thought, wow, it seemed important. I got goosebumps from that movie. I'm gonna try to live in those present moments and hang on to them and enjoy them while they're happening. So now often I try to pause. I look around, I take in the scene like a filmmaker, but I also see what's ahead of me. And I'm not there every time, and I'm not perfect, and I miss things. And I want to tell you another story about something that I missed. See, part of what we're doing is being raw and vulnerable. Teachers, you're not going to get an A every time, and we're going to miss things. But I want to tell you about one of my students from a couple of years ago at the Success Academy. His mom gave me permission to tell his story. I was actually speaking at my first international conference. It was in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. It's called the International Teaching and Treating People of Color. You know, I was gone for 3 days and I had a sub, and one of the things I'm very proud of is I try to always have a typewriter in my classroom because it's instant engagement. Not a kid comes in and out without wanting to type on the typewriter. It was this old-fashioned typewriter. But the 3 days that I was gone, I had a student, and he labeled everything. He typed on paper, cut it out, and then taped a label on everything in my classroom. Everything, including my dad's boots. I don't know if you can see that. It says boot 1, boot 2. One day, he was fighting with his sisters, younger sisters. It was over something silly like a peanut butter sandwich. And he went up to his mom and he said, "Mom, I'm so sorry." And his mom said, "It's okay, honey. It's just a sandwich." He said, "I'm so sorry." And she told me after, she said, "I should have known then. It just didn't match up with what was going on." He was apologizing for what he was going to do a minute later. He walked out of the kitchen, went into the garage, and he shot himself in the head. And I say this because we need to be paying attention to the kids that may not be known, may not be seen, who do things out of the ordinary or different, or are trying to leave evidence of themselves behind. I can see it now. The labels. I have students that say to me, "I want to have kids right now," because they don't believe they're going to live to be 20. And something about having kids right now helps them think, well, then a piece of me, my legacy, or a part of me, make a difference. That's something I can control in a world that just seems out of control and something I'm destined to not make it to. Being in the present moment as much as you can and being honest about how to face pain. There's nothing wrong if you're having anxiety in school right now. We all are. We all feel different. There's nothing wrong if you lost somebody and you're still dealing with the pain of that and not knowing how to do it. But there is something wrong if you're thinking about taking it out on other people. There is something wrong if you're going to take it out on yourself or if you're going to be destructive and break things. These are tough conversations we have to have. So the pain paradigm allows us to shift how we feel and heal and grow, but also we are modeling that to our students in college. See, I've always believed, like in real estate where we say location, 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 teaching, it is modeling, modeling, modeling. Our kids, I say our little ones, and I mean 18, 19, I have 19-year-olds, that they are watching us every day. They're so tuned in. They probably know us better than we know ourselves, and you're not fooling them, okay? So if you can model that you have some tough times and tough things ahead, you're going to teach them some very important tools. Now, I want to talk to you, please remind me, Cheryl, before I end, that I talked to you about the basketball incident. But I also want to talk to you about the butterfly effect. And this was given to me by a superintendent that I support his district. And he taught me about the butterfly effect. So where are my science teachers? Okay, so you probably know about this. The butterfly effect was this theory that one flap of a butterfly's wings can put enough energy into motion to have like a tornado or a hurricane or something. And at first scientists were like, no way, that's not possible. But today we realize it is. But the butterfly effect works with people too, in these connections, in these moments that we have. You never know what one moment you have with a kid that could completely change the trajectory of that child's life, that current child's family, or future family's life. One thing can put something in motion. The reason I'm speaking to you right now, right here in Kentucky, is because of a cafeteria manager in Russell Springs. See, decades ago, my father-in-law, he was this amazing salesperson. He sold food, and he walked into the cafeteria, and the manager said, Merle, 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 sit down right here. I don't care. Whatever you're selling today, I'm going to buy it. Don't you worry. Whatever you're selling, I'm going to buy it. But I just want you to relax. I want you to sit here, and I want you to experience and taste my pinto beans. I've been working so hard on these, and I think these are the best ones I've ever made, and I want you to test them for me. And he sat down, and he enjoyed those pinto beans, and he said, these are some of the most wonderful things I've ever tasted. Now, a few years later, his company said, we're going to move you wherever you want, Merle. You have been sold, you have built this company, and we want you, wherever you want to go, we're going to put you. And he said, I want to go to Kentucky. Some of the nicest people on the planet are right here in Kentucky. And he was thinking about that cafeteria manager and the experience and the connection she made with him. And he said, I want to be right there. So he moved there. And in 2009, when my dad completed suicide, I was seeking a grief counselor. And I remember she said, look, there's no right or wrong way to work through grief. In fact, everybody's going to do it differently. However, whatever you do, do not quit your job and do not move. Don't do anything big. So where are my K1, my little one, mini preschool, paraeducators and teachers? You guys know. You can have the perfect bubbles and tails thing happening in the hallways, and everybody's perfect, and your kids are perfectly in line, and then maybe it's a substitute guest teacher or a parent volunteer. They're like, don't hit, don't hit, don't hit. If you say hit, don't hit. Even if you say don't hit, what are you doing? You're advertising hit. There's going to be a little guy that stops, and he's like, I'm sorry. So the counselor said, don't move, don't quit your job. I quit my job because I knew I wanted to be by my father-in-law. Now, let me tell you about this limitlessness of love. You can draw from it at so many different times throughout your life. My same father-in-law, when he went to school, he would say to himself over and over again, he had this replaying tape in his head that said, I have a garbage brain, I have a garbage brain, I have a garbage brain. For years, he went to school and said, I have a garbage brain, over and over and again in his head. And one day a teacher, Miss Lubitz, pulled him aside and said, Merle, what's going on here? What are you doing? He said, oh, Miss Lubitz, leave me alone, leave me alone. I have a garbage brain. She said, Merle, you do not have a garbage brain. You are smart. You are so smart. He said, no, I have a garbage brain. Now, he struggled with dyslexia. His father was an alcoholic, and he caught some of the worst of it in his family. And she said, Merle, you are smart. You cannot play basketball, football, pole vault. You can't jump, and you can't do those things if you're not smart. You are smart. And he believed her. And that shifted something in him. And I wish I could say he made it through grade school and high school, and he didn't. School was always a struggle for him. But at least he stopped saying, I have a garbage brain and I'm not smart. Well, a couple of years ago, my father-in-law was an Uber driver, and two men in the back seat robbed him and tried to steal his car. My father-in-law, he's a Marine, and he just wouldn't give up, and they beat him almost to death. And he was behind the car, and there was a curb, so they had to back out. They almost rode over him. And he remembers saying, I was barely conscious, barely had enough strength to roll out of the way. He had such battered, bruised hips and ribs, and his face was bloodied and bruised, and it really took a toll on him. A few days later, he managed to go for a walk. He later told me he didn't feel safe walking in the neighborhood, so he walked in Walmart. He wanted to walk a mile. And later, after that walk, he said, I have forgiven these young men. I can't imagine what kind of lives they've lived. I got them to that point where they're so desperate, and I forgive them. When I started Ignite Love in Schools in 2015, I had forgiveness on my whiteboard of things I had to get to. But it wasn't until that moment that I knew how to do it. See, forgiveness is a gift. Yeah, you give others, but you also give yourself. If he held on to that pain and that resentment and that hurt, it ultimately hurts him. There's an expression that says resentment is like swallowing poison and hoping somebody else dies. So the pain of that taught him how to forgive more and how to teach me about forgiveness. And now I'm teaching you. So nobody could understand the pain of that incident and the why. And so here I am last week, and here I am. I'm a mess right now. I'll be honest. Last week I endured so much pain. My school lost another student. He had a stroke and died. 18-year-old. And we had a service on Thursday. And then there's another source of pain. I'm playing basketball. So I'm an English teacher. I do some social studies, and I get to do PE and health because we're a small alternative school. And the favorite part of my day is playing basketball with my kids. We play full court basketball. And we put it all behind, and we just sweat, and we feel good, and we compete. Basketball is a pretty competitive sport, and it can be a little bit of contact. People don't realize it's a contact sport, and we are playing hard. In fact, one day, my best friend in a church league, this was years ago in Wisconsin, I saw him come up from behind and almost tackle a guy going in for a layup. That's how competitive basketball is in a church league. Well, I didn't realize that I must have bumped one of my students going up for a rebound or going in hard for a layup, and he bit his lip or something, and he was so mad. He threw a ball as hard as he could at my private area. Ladies, I don't know how to teach you this, but maybe you've already picked up on it. Sometimes the wind can blow wrong and catch you and move, and it hurts. like on a scale from 1 to 10 hurt. So let alone a basketball coming at me when I was unsuspecting was this kind of pain that I never thought I could endure. But I knew that I could forgive this young man, and that is something that I have to do. And that we grow through it. We grow through it. And so I'm saying this, that pain is inevitable. It's going to hit you at times when you expect it and when you least expect it. But it ultimately makes you stronger. I promise you, if you can face some of the things and forgive others, you're going to give yourself a great gift. So this pain with my father-in-law, this pain that I just endured, like it's 9 days later and I still have pain. I have to go in and see a specialist. I'm just being honest and raw here. But I get to extend grace and forgiveness. I have an opportunity to model and give and show not only that student, but the other students that saw it firsthand, that it's okay. We make mistakes, we learn from them, we grow through them. If we're expecting perfection, if we're expecting our profile picture, we're going to be disappointed 99% of our days. And it's just not okay. It's okay to be on 2 tracks, okay? Remember, it can be that you need to be looking at your life like, oh my goodness, look what I get to do. I get to change lives in schools. I get to have these butterfly effect moments that I may not even know about, but I'm changing lives and future generations of families down the road. Look at the manager in Russell Springs, how much she put in motion with that one connection and experience. And you get to do those things every day. But you have to be present, to be reading the room, pay attention to the signs, and be there. And hopefully then the best of you comes out and lands on a student, in a student's head, heart, spirit, in a way that if they are facing the end, think of my dad, I think of this student. If they're facing choosing the end, there's enough good stuff in their algorithm ahead of them, and you're part of it. Something you said, an experience, a laugh, an image of a future. That 18, 19-year-old not believing he can be 20, you plant that seed. I see you as an old man celebrating your birthday with a picnic table full of family and food and celebrating you. Give them an image of something to hold on to that they've never seen, felt, or believed in themselves. Be that Mrs. Lubens. So what I didn't tell you is, just a few months ago, my father-in-law, his life has not gotten any easier since he got beat up. He lost a brother. He lost a sister-in-law. He was about to lose his next big brother, who was like his #1 person on this planet. He was dying of prostate cancer. And as he was facing that, because it was inevitable, it was only a day or 2 away, he was sitting with me and I saw him welling up with tears. And he said, oh, what I wouldn't do to go back to that cafeteria and just have that time and experience and that love that that woman showed me. That's from 30, 40 years ago. He was drawing from that love. And then he kept going. It was like a Mitch album, 5 people you meet in heaven kind of moment. He said, and Miss Lubens, oh, Miss Lubens. 70 years ago, Miss Lubens had that moment, but she got so stuck in his head, heart, and spirit that he was drawing from her at a time when he needed the most. He said, Joel, I know you've been telling teachers about Miss Lubens ever since you started Ignite #Love in Schools in 2015, but there's more to the story about Miss Lubens. He said, I just can't believe she did what she did and how much she gave me. She even went into my home and had a meeting with my parents and said, Merle, he is struggling and he needs some special help. And there's a school in Champaign, Illinois. And I've called them and I've set up a meeting and we need to go there and get Merle in that school because he needs extra help. And he said, we drove to that school, we had the meeting, We came back in the car, and my parents said, we aren't doing it. And he said, I'm not mad at my parents. It was probably something like finances or transportation. He said, I'm crying because Miss Lubins, she died of breast cancer within a couple weeks of that moment. And he said she did the same kind of thing for another student he talked to at a high school reunion. See, that is that kind of selflessness. When you give to others, you're actually giving to yourself. If you're stuck and you help somebody else, you'll be amazed at how that helps you. And that was helping Miss Lubins keep going when she didn't really have much to keep going. And I want to honor your time. I know it's 9:30. I want to give one last plug to that QR code. You'll have the free ebook of Finding You at the Zoo. You'll have the free video lesson that you can share and adapt with your students, and a free teacher facilitation guide. But please don't hesitate to call me, email, direct message me on social media. I want you to be a part of this Ignite #LoveInSchools algorithm. It's not me, it's this movement, and it gets better and better when people try it, do it, read things, share things. So please, stay connected. I just want to say thank you to the Jefferson County Public Schools PD team for again bringing me back. I'm giving you all a big air hug. I hope your day is amazing, and I know I'm out of time. I love you guys.
Thank you so much, Joel. You have so much love in the chat. This was amazing. And nothing but positive. And I'm off today, and I couldn't step away from your presentation. So thank you so much. This was great. We've followed you. Our digital innovation team is following you now on Twitter and giving you love on Twitter as well. And people are asking in the chat, where was that QR code again?
So I emailed it to Cheryl.
Okay,
and,
that's right. So Cheryl,
I can try to put it in at the end of this, or I don't know, email blast it out.
Yes, I will add it to the slide deck at the end of the Flex Day slide deck. I will add it there. Please make sure you have completed the attendance. It has been in the chat. If for some reason you are having an issue, please email Cheryl.Bibby at Jefferson, and we'll make sure. Joel, that was excellent. Just the fact that I learned the words to Rock the Casbah. I had no idea.
I have the disclaimer. I gave a keynote, Marshall County Schools, after the shooting, and I was trying to pick my words so closely that I didn't traumatize anybody the whole speech, and I thought I crushed it. I got back on my Instagram, and somebody direct messaged me and said, you traumatized me when you sang the lyrics to Rock the Casbah. Those are not the lyrics. Here are the lyrics, and he sent them to me. And I still haven't memorized them. I made them up. Shining and lightning are not in there. They're just, they're in here. Don't use my lyrics. I don't own the rights to those songs, or maybe the lyrics, since I made them up. But no.
I hear you.
I'm just sort of a mess, and I'm trying to help other people embrace their mess too.
All right.
And you did a great job. Can I share your presentation in the chat? Is that okay, Cheryl, if I do that?
Yes, Joel, are you okay with your presentation being shared?
In the chat? What does that mean?
That she's just going to put the link in the chat so that everyone has access to it.
I thought you guys were going to put it on a channel. I would be more, I'd appreciate it, like if it was more in like a protected place.
Okay, we'll do that. No problem.
So Cheryl will email, and when she gives the participants today their information, she'll give it to them that way. That way, it's not on the YouTube channel. That'll be fine. The attendance form is in the chat. I've pasted it a million times, so please check the chat. Scroll up. There's so many thank yous, Joel, that the chat is flooded. We had about almost 500 viewers for this, so we're so excited. Yes. To have that. And then also for those asking, you must stay for 3 hours at least to get the 3 hours of PD. So make sure you stay for the next, as soon as we get Roger on. Cheryl, does he need to call me, or?
I'm going to give him your number to find
Okay.
out what's going on.
Okay.
So we have a brief few moments.
Thank you,
need to
Joel.
run and
Bye. Thank you.
get some breakfast. Thanks, Joel. You were excellent. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. See you again soon.
Bye-bye.
Okay.
So again, 3 hours of credit. So you need to stay for the live portion until 11:30 today to receive